If you are a black woman or black man, understand that you saying that perpetuates a whole cycle and narrative that allows people to condemn and indict your child based on legacy, a historical narrative that goes back generations, hundreds of years in terms of what it is they have predisposed about African Americans and the larger black community, about what we do and what we're predisposed to do. Yeah, gender truce. What I would like to say to everyone is good evening. Thank you for coming out. Get your libations. In the words of comment. Yes. Get those. Because it is Saturday. And this might be your pre-turn up before you go COVID style turn up. But there's myself, the Black Anglo-Saxon. Then we have Inquisitive Q in here joining us today in the building. You all see the title on the other side. Today we aren't necessarily going through a formal agenda. This is a quite frank and honest conversation, and that is also the detail to the Zoom. Please, if you want to call in, like, this is probably the best episode to do, and we want to hit everybody's opinion, especially preferably females, because I mean, we're males, we have our take, but I want to hear how the opposing side feels. How do you say opposing? Because we're asking for a truce today.
Oh,
and so, in the name of it being a truce, getting into the topic, we're asking at
begging, you're lying, I'm pleading, I am begging for a truth.
groveling, contagious, for it to be squashed. And so that means that there's beef. That means that there is a war at hand, a gender war at hand that I wish we could really get a handle on, because I know everybody right now is also election season.
We're a month out.
We're a month out. Donald Trump has COVID. But this is one of the things that I wanted to discuss, as it is a situation that, despite who wins the election, I think would be a great thing that we get a grip on, in terms of being able to not only have the conversation, but come out of it with a terms of agreement, in the sense that what is this? Yeah, like, what is everybody looking for? Everybody, again, because there is beef on the Twitter webs, on the Facebook webs, on the web period,
Real life.
in the media. You know, you have a lot of narratives, and today we're going to kind of more so focus on the African American community, but at large, just in general. But I think for us specifically, because I am African American, I am talking to us. And I can say, especially for myself, it is something that I want to see happen at least within the next, I feel like we can do it in a year. I mean, again, if everybody liked the video,
Table.
if everybody liked the video, share the video, comment, we could sit down and have a comment. A lot can happen within a year.
A lot can happen within a year.
And all I'm saying is, look, man, I understand there are trash people.
We got to define the trash.
And we will do that later on. But we have to understand that they're just, it's trash in general.
Trash. You know? Hashtag immaturity.
Hashtag immaturity, because it's a lot that goes on that gets chalked up to toxic masculinity, toxic femininity, toxic whatever. But it really comes down to who's actually out here being an adult? Who's actually out here being?
Wait a minute. So are you taking the ing off adulting and just saying adult?
Yes, because adulting turns it into this very, what word do I want to use? Petulant, infantile character of what being an adult actually is. Because what people are doing is they're taking components out of what being an adult is and saying, "Oh, I'm adulting because I'm doing this one component." That one component that society may just impose on them automatic.
So you expand this scope.
Because we have to. Because again, there are guys that are trash. Because you can't redeem yourself from being trash. I can say for myself, I've been trash in the past.
I've been trash. Part of me still is trash.
And that's for everybody. I could say a mature person could probably come to the table and say, you know what? Parts of me are trash. And that's what makes the mature person mature.
But you need that though. And here's why I say you need that part of you. It's called ego. But anybody who has really understood
relationship,
and I mean romantic, non-romantic, erotic, non-erotic, you understand that sometimes people take you for granted and they just think you're a sucker and you gotta look at them and go like, yeah, no, I agreed to be with you, but the terms are changing because you're treating me differently. So because you're treating me differently, that trash part of me is like, yeah, it's time for us to go and go play. But I consider the trash part of me playtime, and I understand there's a difference between playtime and being an adult and having to work. But that'd be later on a conversation.
Well, that's all good because it all fits today. And again, we are only on any specific hard regimen. Let me see if we have any participants. Again, we encouraging everybody to call in.
I think it's interesting to start off with, how did we come to this conversation? How did we get to the point where we decided, okay, the politics matter, everything else, the pop culture matter? Because I remember we were having a discussion about it before we decided this was going to be it. And I was thinking about Will and Jada with the entanglements. I was thinking about Cardi B and Offset with that. I was thinking about Lisa Ray, not only Lisa Ray commenting on Will Smith in an entanglement, but Lisa Ray recently talking about her relationship with the Brat and how her and the Brat haven't been talking out, and she decided to air it out publicly. I was like, that's not necessarily for the public. And so it's like, when
Fox and them was all there?
Yeah, the Goddess joint. It's like, or what is the Goddess?
Fox.
Yeah, but I'm saying, what's the name of the title of the show? I can't recall it.
I saw all that. But you saw their
faces like, this is awkward.
But they said it. Then one girl at the end was just like, you know what? I like her though. Because she was like, she peeped that it wasn't going nowhere in terms of attention. And she was just like, let me pivot this joke. Canada, and it was like, well, look, we all know that we gotta have these real conversations. Because these real conversations are necessary. These real conversations are what get us to the other side. And that is what this is today. Well, how do we?
What I'm asking you, the Black Anglo-Saxon, what got you to the perspective or to the point where you were like, you know what, we need to have this discussion?
So there's a lot of things, you know. I follow social media. Then, you know, I dibble in academia and, you know, the terminologies that come out of there.
Admit you're a scholar. Like, I don't want to admit that I like to be athletic, but it's okay.
But what happens is, for me, I felt like it was a pertinent conversation I had based on the fact that I saw and continue to see the damage that it does to us politically, the damage that it does to and what I mean by politically, understand that the family is the first political unit. And understand that without that first political unit, us as a collective, us as a community cannot develop. And we talk about a lot of things involving community. And for me, it was just like, how can anybody have a household? How can anybody build anything in terms of the overall collective? We like to talk about wealth as a community, but how do we get there if we cannot stabilize singular family units? Because the singular family units is what allows you to then go into another person's house and say, all right, cool, we're going to move with you on this collective idea. And so the dilapidation of the community at large, and listening to the not cries of people, but the gripes and what do we do next and what are the solutions to moving in an election that is quote unquote the lesser of two evils, in terms of we must not be focused on who's elected, but how we're going to navigate based on who's elected. And with that being said, I think the family unit, Black families are the most important thing to that, because without stabilizing that, we can't get any movement on anything where people are having, it's a full range of things. And I don't even want to get into the mention hurdles that come with generational trauma, that come with, again, being traumatized by policy on the other side of it. And then also the things that we as a community continue to perpetuate, which is why you see, the Megan Thee Stallion, the Tory Lanez, what's her name, Cardi B, Ada, and Lisa Ray, and so many you've named, and there's many more. But just the overall narrative of pushing the toxicity on both sides, and female. And what we need to do to not only strengthen, it's not about Black male image or Black gay male image or LGBT female image or all of these different things. My biggest thing is, how do we, one, stabilize households to be able to build a larger community? And then how do we also clean up and uplift the image of Black family? Because despite whether a person may think that image doesn't matter or that they should be able to have the ability to do what they want to do, understand that you live in a society that is very capital driven, very consumer driven, and that image is what is the difference between a court going against a decision, not based on who you are, but based on the image of what you are. Angry Black man and angry Black woman.
Okay.
Because we in this together.
Yeah,
We are one household. We are one family unit. And that's not to say that, again, if you could think about it in a larger, if you could take it from micro to macro, basically, and understanding that, yes, I have to love the people within my house, but I also have to love the Black man down the street just as much as I love my son. I also have to love the young Black little girl across the street just as much as I say I love my sister. She can be an asshole, but we can hash that out in between. But that is what I would say is the larger part of why, for me, I decided to be like, it's a touching situation. It definitely is a nuclear, just given the politics around gender identity, patriarchy, and all of those different things. But I think in terms of, us one being Black males from an urban environment, urban. And then,
Now, Black.
so coming from that though, and being able to articulate that though, in terms of like, look, I understand it is trash on both sides. Like, but let's have a conversation, a very, level-headed conversation, a very logical conversation, and a very objective conversation. Because for me, I think both sides feed each other's negativity and perpetuate it. And so with that being said, like, same question to you, like, because again, I brought it to you, but on this time, you was like, all right, cool. But again, like I
I
was
was saying before we just went live, we had to build a catalog to get to the point where we can kind of have these discussions. So we don't have to talk about, we don't have to go into depth about how the black family was during the time of chattel slavery separated, and how black American women during chattel slavery were used for their reproductive labor. We don't have to have that discussion here and now, although it does influence how we gauge each other, how we talk to each other, and so forth. The reason I came to this discussion and was happy to have this discussion is because you know how I talk all the time. And I said all the freaking flapping time. People are not vulnerable with each other. Why that's so important to me is because when people are not vulnerable with each other, they're willing to hold in all the things that are a problem. And people see problems and conflicts. Again, I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm speaking on my perspective. But the problem that I am encountering and that I see is that people are not willing to be open and honest with themselves, and therefore they're not willing to be open and honest with their partner. From what they're expecting from their partner, what they're expecting, and I'm using partner because I want to extend the conversation beyond heteronormative relationships. It's like people are not having those open, honest, emotional conversations because there is a great deal of fear of being hurt. And I came to this conversation like, well, yes, a lot of hurt does happen in romantic relationships. However, I think a lot of people blind themselves to the hurt that goes on in friendships. To how a lot of these friendships aren't friendships, they're hate groups. And what I mean by their hate groups is that when you were saying that people escalate, in my experience, when people are in a romantic relationship and their partner hurts them, they go and they seek information or they seek a perspective from other people. And when they seek a perspective from other people, they don't always tell what it is, one, that they have done, they've gone on that attention. And another thing that they don't necessarily tell is how they actually feel about the person deep down. Because what a lot of people hide is hurt, guilt, and shame. I was putting shame and guilt together. And it's funny how shame and guilt together says game. But they hide those things because it's like, oh, it's my personal fault. It's my fault that I ran into a man that is such and such and such and such. It's my fault that I ran into a woman that is such and such and such and such. It's like, no, and going back to it, it's non-binary and it's non-gender for me in the sense that we need to start talking about maturity. Because a lot of people will hide behind, oh, I'm gay. Gay men get raped all the time. And not only that, there is racism in the LGBTQIA community. That's why there are some men who will say, I am same-sex loving and not gay. So there's complexities to these things. And if we keep using gender or keep saying fuckboy or we keep saying thought and all those other things, people assume they know what's going on because it's like, oh, I know what a thought is. I know what a fuckboy is. It's like, but you have no clue what's actually being done behind closed doors.
What you are saying basically is the behavior algorithms. The algorithms of the behavior in terms of when you have a term or when you have an idea or when you have a concept, you take that and then you open that up. And we're now having a conversation more so about what makes you a fuckboy or what makes you a thought or why those things even matter and what those things mean to the overall community and how it affects a relationship. And yes, and how it, again, to your point, you know, when you talk about even being quote unquote, I guess a thought. So basically you're saying or getting to or leading us into in terms of conversation is it's not necessarily about you being a thought or a fuck boy, but rather being an immature person, and that label is just being slapped to you. But across the spectrum,
what I want to clarify is that being a thought or a fuckboy is not about promiscuity. It's about how a person goes about seeking partners. Like you can be promiscuous and honest. You can be promiscuous and not be a thought or a fuckboy. But if you're promiscuous and deceptive, That's when you become.
'Cause I always differentiate between, you know, a lot of women think that guys be caring about body count, and it's like
It's not. It's insecurity.
it's not like because I even had to tell my girl, it's like it's not so much about the body count. It's about how you accumulate the bodies and the manner in which you accumulate the bodies. I don't necessarily mind you having bodies, but if you out here just legs spread open to the public, that's a different conversation because now we're talking not necessarily about what you're doing behind closed doors, but the tact in what you're doing behind closed doors. So for me, I know a lot of people, you know, it's like, oh, why does that double standard exist? It's like, look, for male,
It's called
community penis. Yeah, it is. But for males, the difference is of how people internalize it. For males, we just don't really care. Yeah, in the sense, I don't feel like males care to that degree outside of trying to meet a standard that is imposed on them by women. Because for most part, the only time or the only reason that a lot of men want to get more women or get women is to get other women. So the validation comes through receiving that attention from other women. Yes, men do clown men for getting, I guess, or not getting women, but it doesn't happen as much as people would like to believe.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. And again, going to your point, those are more sort of immature dudes. Like, if nobody's paying attention to that guy, like, you're clowning dudes for what? Like, you're like, what, 18, 17? If you pass, 16, if you pass, that's how old you, because nobody cares about that anymore.
A certain point in time, after you had a certain number of experiences, you go like, I'd rather go home alone. After you had a certain number of experiences, I'd rather go home alone. Now, when you add that caveat of the pressure, this is where I have a concurrent argument, is that a lot of young women will also say, I don't want a guy that doesn't have any experience. So you can't sit here and say, oh, he's a womanizer, but I don't want to be with a guy that has no experience. Your cake and eat it too. And that's one of the things that I will say is and is reinforced by society. The media is that the media puts it that if you have a realistic woman, then she's a bitch because she's realistic. She's willing to call out. So we take the realistic woman and we just nail her into the ground because she is in marketing sex. But we take the woman who's willing to idealize herself and therefore sell that idealized version of herself and put her on a pedestal. And for a lot of guys, they chase the idealized version of femininity. And like, oh, she's toxic. It's like, yes, she's toxic. Why? One, I'm not even going to her psychology because we need someone to call in for that. One, she's idealized. And because she's idealized, the reality of who she is something she's able to hide because she does not have to go to multiple suitors. She doesn't have to compete in the same way that other people who don't get the same attention have to compete for attention. What you're not willing to do, she can easily go through her phone and just flip and go like, okay, this person was willing to do it. But anyone who knows their life is like, that's a very shallow existence. You don't get much out of it. But this is what I blame guys. It's like, I blame guys for being superficial visually. It's like you're so visually superficial that we're not able to promote. We're not able to propagate maturity because most people are willing to chase youth. And they're willing to chase that youthful, willing to chase that youthful image. And that's why we can't get to legacy. Because when you get to legacy, now you have accepted aging and maturing, getting back to the adulting thing. Now you have accepted, I kind of don't have the time in my life to be promiscuous because it takes a lot.
Oh,
It takes a lot of time.
Boss, look here, man.
It takes a lot of time.
And this how you know, speaking to maturity too. Because what happens is, and this is where the gender war gets kind of dangerous, right? We are coming out of our youth. What I would,
white
and no, what I mean is specifically in terms of generational. Gotcha. Because what I'm about to go to is, I think what we have to do is be very careful about how we generalize. And I'll just say, speaking on the behalf of men, I will ask Black women in terms of their truths, please please be careful about the narrative and the storyline that you put out. If you're talking about Black men being trash and garbage and so on and et cetera, and not being able to commit, and you are 22, 23, man, be careful. Because I want us to put things in, be able to put things into proper context.
Be very careful. People
Are very, at that age, that's why I say the 17, 18, 19, 20. At that age, you are immature. You don't know what the fuck you want.
what you like.
I was saying 35 plus. Because right now, what I will say is people 30, you should be coming out of that full cologne. I will say, you know me, you say my standard is high, so I'm look.
No, you
being
nice.
That's what I'm saying. You say my standard is high, so I'm jumping precise right now. 30? No. But you should have been coming out.
30? You too late. I don't want to be your friend. I don't want to be your friend. You
Just coming out of that?
You got too many times and too much. You need too much time to understand the difference between physical and emotional.
He said it. He said it.
You can't be my friend.
I don't care. But I don't need him. What I was saying was, you're right. I'm trying to be nice. You being nice. But you told me the other day that it's
Based upon subject.
It's upon subject. I may have a too high of a level or expectation of discipline.
You see my sentences. You know they're like 100 words long. But why would you listen to me?
But at the same time, again, I'm extending grace to people. I understand that people live their lives because, again, we are also in context dealing with a generation who was taught by a generation. We crack it here.
Everyone.
Yeah, so because again, those influences go far beyond an individual household, a collective community. Again, I'll give people that room. I'll give people that, okay, you 30, you need to at least be saying to yourself, look, what I've been doing is stupid. We need to correct course. So when we talk about like truth,
30.
Hey, I'm just trying to be nice. When we talk about truth, though, on both sides, what I would say is I think we have to also be willing to look at our group specifically and not apply standards from other groups. And I mean that when I say
economically.
Economically, because a lot of the drawback comes economically as you have Black men, African-American men specifically, is which we're talking about, who are trying to strive to be things that, again, I'm not against you striving. Please do not take me for what I'm saying. I'm not. Because again, part of that is human and part of that is needed for us to get to the next stage. Part of striving is what makes the person say, you know what? I'm doing wrong. Let me do better. So we're talking about, again, people who come from striverism in terms of how we apply across the board to every ideal that we want to see. That's why we have vision boards. So in terms of striving, what I want people to strive to is being a better person. And being a better person across the board and understanding that you need to, and this goes for Black men. Look, we don't have the resources that we would love to have access to. And when I say resources, I'm talking about social capital. I'm talking about liquid capital. Because I know a lot of people want to be, again, entrepreneurs and things of that nature, and I would never deter anybody from it. But I want people to understand what they're getting into when they do it. Because when we talk about the gender beef, and when we talk about that, a lot of I see within between the lines of these conversations is, men can't provide, men can't protect, men can't economically keep pace. And I need for us to understand that we have to build in a different way. But I also am asking for women to understand that, like, look, you have to. I understand that there are no excuses, and there are none, but understand what has happened historically that has put both of us in a situation together. We have to understand that we are in this together. together in terms of historically being put into this situation. And when we talk about the gender beef, again, you can hold people accountable, but be also understanding in the same way that you want that man to be understanding that, like, look, I deal with and dealt with aggressive women or women who would be deemed toxic in a sense that they aren't necessarily feminine and so on. But at the same time, you have to understand that we all come from toxic environments. We all come from, and what I'm saying is not necessarily enable people, because I'm against enabling. But what I will do is give you the room to grow. Because if I didn't get that room to grow, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
I get you, but some of it is pruning. And what I mean by pruning, I literally mean neurologically no longer reinforcing certain neurological pathways to pleasure. What I mean by that, we need to stop talking about the ballers and the baddies. I'll repeat it. I'm famous for repeating. I don't mind. And the baddies. And the reason I say that is because, going to on the economic piece, when we look outside of the group, we can look at Betty Davis payment on demand. And Betty Davis payment on demand is what you're talking about. We can talk about toxic femininity in the sense of that she, in this movie, she being Betty Davis is playing this role, has decided that she's going to push her husband to make more money so that they can become affluent because she comes from poverty. These are white people, and we're talking about
I get that word all the time. It's S&C. Fuck it. Doesn't get along too well. But my point is that I do not want any Black American woman, any Black American man to look into the mirror and blame themselves for the situation that they are in. We must understand that poverty is something that we all have to deal with. Whether we affluent or not, as a Black American, poverty is an issue. And there are different strategies that people who come from poverty or people who are associated with poverty or people who have a propensity to be in impoverished environments adopt. That's what How to Marry a Millionaire comes in with Lauren Bacall and a couple other stars, as well as the movie I was talking about, how Payment on Demand with Betty Davis. It's important as we go throughout this discussion to make sure that the gender truths isn't just narrowed down with African American men and women as far as being quote unquote toxic, but we narrow down on what's important for the group as a whole instead of like I want to get to a point where we're not pointing fingers at each other. We're at a point like, yeah, baby, what did they do to you today? I know you need to relax. What did they do to you today? Now, we need to have this conversation. We need to debrief because I want to know how they changed their racist shit today. I want to know what racist shit they did to you today. No, you need to tell me. I know you need to debrief and breathe. But tell me what racist shit they did to you today. For two reasons. One, so I don't blame you for being angry. Two, so I know what I look out for.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that. That's why we wait for her to call in. Racist shit that they did to do today. Going back to, again, we kind of in this together. Unfortunately, when we talk about family units, on the flip side of that, you have to understand that white people are also family units. And they can only go but so far in terms of what it is most people would call activism or being able to intervene when you're experiencing something as a Black woman or man is, even though they're oppressed in that sense, it's a different type of oppression. And they have to go against their actual own family, which causes a rift. And this is also part of why I wanted to have a conversation about, calling the truce in terms of
I'm listening.
A legacy.
Say that one more time because it don't get said enough.
We are going up against a legacy.
Thank you.
A multi-generational that legacy. And what we have to begin to understand in this is that I understand that there are gender disparities in our society, but a lot of people don't like to talk about the political side of it. When we do delve into that, we have to begin to understand that, again, this is the first political unit. They preserve it. They preserve it for a reason. Because, and I'm not even just saying white people, I would say continental Africans and,
I just say non-ADOS.
very non-ADOS communities understand that you have to be family oriented first, and they do that, and they prioritize their people in that way, and prioritize their legacy and their lineage in that way. And I think what we have to do is get to understanding, like, look, if you're going to say something, allow it to at least create a rubric. I agree. A rubric in the sense that, because I hear a lot of Black women say, oh, well, Black men this and Black men that and Black men this and Black men that. Do you have any statistics or data to back that? Do you have, because what we have to do is, again, out for the overall community, we have to begin to understand that, like, in terms of this whole gender war, we have to stop using anecdotal evidence
and individual evidence.
Have I encountered myself individual bad women? Yes. Have I encountered individual good women?
Yes.
But what happens is with Black men is that we can say the same, or most women can say the same, and I please call in, like the video, share the video, comment, because a lot of Black women can say the same as they have them in their families and so on and so forth. But what they do is they refer to the worst parts of the group. Nobody talks about the men who are doing what they're supposed to. Statistics show that Black men are more progressive than any other men in all areas.
Because we grow, and I want to jump in there. Before we are men, we are boys, and we are boys of Black mothers. So we see how Black mothers are treated and Black women are treated, and we don't get enough respect for how much hurt. I'll say this: Black men also are quiet about how much hurt we carry. We don't want to talk about the hurt that we carry. We don't want to talk about the pain that we carry. But I'm sorry, go ahead, because you are totally right. Especially with the myth of the Black father or the absentee Black father. There's literally, I'm not a huge fan of white liberals, but when they get it right about how that is a myth. A lot of Black men are involved in their children's life. They want to be involved in their children's life. But the problem becomes, and the problem is that we have the men ain't trash narrative coming at. I'm listening.
And that's the thing. How do we overcome that? Because that's where the truth starts. That's where the truth begins in terms of, look.
This is what I mean by their hate groups. They're hate groups because you got one person inside of the group who was embittered by a relationship they were in, and so now they're going to every single example of how someone can be mistreated becomes that person's contribution to the conversation. Let's take how guys, we like to do things around our activities. Let's say we playing basketball. Basketball is over, how we used to do around our aunt's house, right? We finish playing basketball. We sitting back, we chilling, we relaxing. I bring up, you know how my relationships are. They're trash. I don't even call them relationships. I am horrible at picking romantic partners. But that said, I have also heard a number of people, especially I'm talking about immature people, who will do trash things to other people and get upset at having to know. Perfect example, there was this young person, right, who was telling me about how someone else was abusing them because they used them for sex. But this same person will not commit to anyone who wants emotional intimacy. They want emotional intimacy themselves, but they clown people who are open, honest, genuine, and integral. So because that person does not want to mature themselves, They surround themselves with people who have examples and stories that reinforce so-and-so isn't trash. This person is trash. Men are trash. Men don't do this. Let me get away from the vagueness. Perfect example. We'll have a dude that call a woman a thought, right? Or call her a hoe. We all listening to his story. We've been here before. Most men been here before. We listen to the story. The woman tells the guy, I'm out here. I don't want a relationship right now. I'm looking for fun.
Mhm.
The dude goes and goes like, okay, cool. I'm with that, right? So the woman goes, cool. We out here for fun. We having fun. Let's have fun. She decides, or they decide to get physically intimate. He gets attached, right? He's emotionally attached to her. She was upfront with him. I'm not looking for a relationship. I'm out here having fun. Never did she say we wanted to be exclusive. Never did she say we wanted to be long-term or so forth. But because he thought that he could change her mind, he gets upset and takes that one example as this is how all women are. Because that one experience of there was a woman who was honest with him, who told him, I am not ready to commit to anyone. I am out here for fun. And because in his mindset, oh, I can change her. He didn't change her because no one can change anyone. It came to a point where he's now upset, and that any woman that he is brought up, or any example of a woman just not understanding men, because it's really hard to understand ourselves, let alone communicate ourselves to someone else. He used that as an example of how all women are bad. So if the men in that friend group don't sit down and tell him like, look, son, you had a bad relationship. You did that to yourself. She told you that she wasn't looking for nothing, no commitment. Didn't you get the cheats? You got the cheats. It's like, so where did she lie to you at? She didn't. But this is where the hate group comes in, because he's not the only one that had the experience. A couple of other people in that group had the experience. Now they begin to be bash that woman and bash her name because of the one example brought up by, she said she wasn't ready for a commitment. Also, she's a hoe. She's a thought. Let's slut shame her. Let's say that she isn't ready to be committed. You know, on the other side is when women talk about womanizers. It's like we can't have dick appointments and call men womanizers. You can't have dick appointments and also call men womanizer. Because if I recognize that you're only treating me as a physical object and you want no emotional commitment, and I just go smooth, cool, I'm with it. You don't want no commitment. I want commitment, but you're not the one that's willing to commit to me. That's fine. So what happens is people go back to their friend group and they start talking trash to their friend group about the other person. And when they talk trash to the friend group about the other person, what happens is that everyone begins to hate that other person because of one situation. And they become hate groups. They literally begin to trash other people. And how do I know it's a hate group? Men are trash. Men ain't shit. Bitches and hoes. Hoes over bros. It's like anything that becomes pop culture, that means that enough people are doing these things behind closed doors. And most of the things that become popular is hate. Look at how, when they said, who was it? Pepsi-Cola and Coca-Cola became the best marketers out of competing. These friend groups are hate groups. And a lot of people beside these friend groups create these social hierarchies where this person's out of my league. It's like, do you know how many attractive women there are in the world, bro? Like, there's literally more attractive women in the world than you can ever bust a nut. There's so many attractive women in the world. But just because that person is attractive and you have a good rapport doesn't mean that that person is the person for you. But I'm telling you, a lot of these group texts, a lot of these friend groups are literally hate groups, because I'll end on this one. How many friend groups talk about growth and positivity outside, not just for themselves, but people outside of the freaking group as well? Because Beyonce got a whole song, "My Friends is Better Than Your Friends." That's some gang shit. I call girl nights game nights. I ain't gonna give a fuck. Man, I've been to girl nights. You've been to girl nights. You know they be plotting on each other. You know they be calling out ops. Me thinking, oh, they just walking around. They didn't. This is like, nah, son. There's a lot of girl groups I've been in there. They want rubbish. I'm not a part of girl code. Don't invite me no more. I'm serious. I'm tired of the emotional dumping. Don't call me. Because if you call me, I'm going to show them I don't talk shit.
So you're only part of the coalition.
What coalition? Of hate? I don't like hate. Hate gives me lines. Hate. I don't want crow's feet and not worry lines. Meaning, I want lines right here, but not lines right here. I don't want a life of worry. I want a life of smile.
But so I agree in a lot of ways that a lot of the friend groups are hate groups. That's an interesting phrase. I love putting that because in terms of how they kind of operate, in that most of them aren't necessarily uplifting, and that they do perpetuate a lot of the gender bashing between both genders, which I don't necessarily support in any way, shape, or form. I don't necessarily like seeing Black women being talked about in a certain way, whether you're casting them as angry, belligerent, and so on and so forth. And I don't like Black men being cast in a particular way.
That's again, you understand the weight of talking about each other so negative.
Yeah, and that's, again, going back to what we talked about in the beginning, that's my biggest point, or want to come to the conversation, is like, look, we have to stop publicly, because like I always say is, social media especially are political and corporate tools. So understand that our conversations have followed. Just earlier, or I believe last night, Twitter put out some comments that if you wish death on Donald Trump in terms of this whole COVID situation and him contracting allegedly, if you wish death on him, you will be dealt with and handled.
You have to be.
So
that's illegal.
I agree. But what people have to understand about that is that goes into the idea of narrative protection. Because even though, again, Donald Trump may be a white supremacist and all of the things that we understand that he is, America, as a white supremacist nation, understands that they have to protect that narrative. And what I'm asking for on Agenda Truths is that, before you run to any social media with like the Twitter fingers or any of that, or any of these fingers, understand what you're doing and making the life harder for your fellow Black woman or Black man. It's hard for me to navigate in rooms and spaces where the consensus is Black men ain't shit, or Black men are dangerous, or Black heterosexual men do this, or Black heterosexual men do that. It makes it that much harder for me to have a conversation or go into a room. Like I used to have conversations, again, I wear glasses or wear certain things
to disarm people.
Because I am a heterosexual Black male. And I'm asking both sides, males, please, when you start talking about bitches and thoughts and all of that nonsense, understand that is, one, human nature, and that women have their prerogatives to do that. We do not have to if you don't want to deal with that type of woman, don't deal with that type of woman.
And don't speak on her.
Don't speak on her don't speak on it publicly. What you talk about, again, I'm not trying to regulate what people talk about in the confines of their own home, because I'm not trying to be a tyrant in that way.
I am.
I get it. No, I get it, because again, you need to change your conversations because of your perspective of people begins to morph with that as well. But what I'm saying is, on the first level, first step, let's master one step at a time. Let's not disparage each other in public. If a Black woman was late, let her be late. We both know what we go through.
We don't know why she late.
Exactly.
Don't ask her.
As another Black person, let's understand what other African American people go through. Let's understand it. Let's not get into, these over sweeping generalizations about black men like, oh, they're dangerous. How, Sway? Don't you you'll understand that your sons and your daughters have to deal with these narratives.
That's what I was getting to.
Understand that if you don't understand anything else. When you say something, if you are a black woman or black man, understand that you saying that perpetuates a whole cycle and narrative that allows people to condemn and indict your child
Exactly.
based on legacy, a historical narrative that goes back generations, hundreds of years, in terms of what it is they have predisposed about African Americans and the larger black community, about what we do and what we're predisposed to do. Repeat that one term.
What?
Predisposed to do.
What?
Disposed to do.
And that means that it is what?
That we are highly likely and intended to do so because of based on a certain amount of factors, and in this case, our race.
And that leads to what kind of consequence? Policy.
Policy and bad outcomes. It leads to the Breonna Taylor situations. It leads to the Tamir Rice situations because, again, Tamir Rice is shot down because he's a little black boy. Because the narrative is little black boys, black men are dangerous. Breonna Taylor doesn't get her just due because black women are angry, black women are mouthy, black women are all of these things. When in fact, to your point, in most cases, most women are like that, but most people are like that. Mouthy, disrespectful, entitled, and don't want to necessarily do what is necessary to get what it is they're asking for.
Yes, I'm jumping around because you and I both have worked in fishery government. And this is one of the things about the DMV. And I'm going to say this, the DMV is some of the most entitled residents. And I jump in on that because you are hitting the nail on the head. I'm in education. I'm in the education environment, I should say, because I don't like to be in education. Because being a teacher in K through 12 is more so being a social worker that has a responsibility to teach, right? And this is where I wish Quan was here at this moment to kind of chime in. That's just me saying, I miss you, Quan. I miss you. I understand you're doing something important, but you are part of a guild of sages. I miss you. Outside of that, though, it's so important and imperative because what happens is that going back to our things, right? You got a Cardi B. We talk about Cardi B. I love Cardi B. When Cardi B came out, I was like, yes, here's why. I'm going to be honest with you, bro. Here's why I love Cardi B. I felt like Cardi B was one of those young women who got passed over all the time. Passed over and passed around. Right? And people don't like this about Cardi. The Cardi tells the truth. And she tells the truth.
That's why I do like about her.
But she tells the truth in which us hood niggas, and people don't think I'm a hood nigga, but us hood niggas can respect. Raw, unvarnished, truth about human behavior. Even when Cardi talked about her exploitation of men, that was bold.
Lock her up.
That was brave.
Gotta be objective.
If we lock up Cardi, then we need to lock up Camilla. And if we lock up those two, we need to lock up a third of most women. Let's be real. No. And if we lock up a third of most women, we need to lock up half of niggas because they be lying about everything.
Yeah.
It's like,
with that. I'm conservative when I say that, I become the people who say, oh, you elitist. Oh, you this. Oh, but again, going back to the truth, what y'all want, black women? Y'all want black women? Y'all want black men who gonna come in and smack everybody that's doing illicit things that damage and harm the community? Or do y'all want to just say that y'all are protected? Like, I get it. Like, but one half is like, look, my whole life, you know what I wanted to do? Just walk around. No, not even my whole life. You know what I wanted to do for the man as a job?
What?
Just be a slapper. And you know what a slap is?
They call that a whip.
Yeah, you know what a slap is?
Yes,
dog?
I do.
Any nigga who walking around and just start talking some crazy shit.
Get him alive.
What you say? I ain't your face. Hold on. What you say, dog? Right there. Because what happens is
I teach you like that.
I was
I
hoping
think she would like that.
look, I tried to express it.
If she didn't
Right.
have an angry Luther, he would fucking love
I would cut my head tomorrow just to be in there suited and booted up like. Hold on, what you said? Hold on, you guess what? You said what the? You said what the? Because you want to know what? I'm sick of it. Because a lot of people disrespect our community, and I know that people aren't necessarily positioned in a way to push back and do the things that they want to do, which is why, again, I'm here having a conversation because I don't want it to permeate any longer. Because again, we get nowhere, we get zero place with women, black women calling the men trash and then the men calling black women
Alright.
trash. Where do we get?
But let's get down to this point, right?
Okay.
And I agree with everything you said right there. Let's get down because we've been going over on this point. And please, we want y'all to call in. Please like and share, comment. Because it's not a discussion between us, it's a discussion among
This is bigger
us.
than us.
It's way bigger than us. Let's take Toni Morrison and Lewis.
I got the Witcher.coms up. So y'all in the breakout room, I'm gonna let you in ASAP. If you watching the video now, like the video, share, comment, please call in. I got the break rooms open because again, it's much larger than us. And this is a community issue. I just want it resolved in terms of, look, I hear black women and I hear black men, but let's move forward with the cream of the crop. That's what we gotta do.
This is almost
Go
a
ahead.
alternative argument, but let's go away from that.
Okay.
My thing is it's almost, but it's not there. But my thing is that let's get down to the guilt and shame.
Okay.
Right? You got Toni Morrison who writes The Bluest Eye. And Morrison in The Bluest Eye really explores a psychology of not being seen physically attractive because you don't have European standards. You don't have the 1A or the 1B hit there. You don't have the fair skin. You don't have certain aspects that give you that economic advantage, that gives you that social advantage. You may be, because we all start young, you may be in your head processing. Damn, I'm not cute enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard this a lot from non-ADOS women. I'm cute. And I'm going to say this as a quick aside. There's no woman pretty enough to make a man do what she wants him to do. There's no such thing. I'm pretty, I'm cute, therefore I should have my way. That doesn't work with men. It works with other women. It doesn't work with men. I don't give a damn if I'm pretty.
Work where feminized it.
I don't care about them. It doesn't. It gets feminized men. I'm gonna add this caveat: feminized men doesn't mean gay men.
Nope.
That doesn't mean gay at all. We're not
At all.
talking about sexuality when we say feminized men. We're talking about psychology. Cute don't get nowhere with me because there's a lot of, there we go, attractive women watch trash or absolute trash. Oh, we got a caller coming in. Thank you, caller. Hold on, let me.
So we got someone that wants to chime in. I'm tired of getting
Chime in at.
That's
Okay. So first off, guys, how you gonna have a whole gender conversation and not have the opposite sex in the room present to give their opinion?
Because it's COVID. We try to be responsible.
I love it. Thank you.
Hold the phone on her though. So that's why we want to call in. That's why we want to call in.
We
No,
been
pick your
begging.
piece though. No, pick your piece though. You got full floor. I look. Tell other women to call in. We want y'all to call in, but we ain't trying to get nobody sick. You know, we trying to have y'all out here on Trump move.
Oh, I love that one. You listen.
Points. I will definitely say that. Just I missed some of them because we were driving, but I just wanted to chime in on one thing, and the thing about commitment. So, I feel like, but the thing that the example that you had with one of your guy friends who was dating a girl who didn't want commitment, and she had been clear about that, and he still didn't understand. I think it's also the same way for females as well. Sometimes females are not, we're not as bold in saying what we want when we want it in the beginning of a relationship. And so that can lead to miscommunications, which then lead to us wanting to bash, men. And it's not all men. And, I would say that my friend circle, my female friend circle, we definitely try not to make it a broad statement of, oh, all men are trash, all men are this, black men are this, black men are that. Look at it as a case by case point. So, I definitely agree with that. We got to stop this, bashing of the whole entire, one sex or the other, because it leads us to nowhere, and it leads to the cycle of trauma continuing over and over.
Let me ask you this. With that being said, I agree with everything you just said. What is it that you would add to in terms of what not only do you do, because you spoke to it a little bit in terms of, like you said, you push back in your own friend groups in terms of not letting sweeping generalizations exist. So what are you doing, if anything else outside of that? And what do you think both men and women can do to create this truce, create this environment where we can get to a point where gender war is not one of the conversations that are impeding us in terms of our political endeavors, our wealth building endeavors, and all the things that we say we want to do as a community. If that makes
Yeah. So basically, talking about going on your first point of what I do differently and what my friends do differently. I mean, it's just not generalizing. And the way that we not generalize is, again, we just look at it case by case. We understand that every single person, just like a man is a person, like every single man, female, we're all like male, female, we're all single individual people. We all have our individual stories, and we all have our individual struggles that we face through our lives. So it's hard to say all men are trash when, we look at it like, are we attracting what are we attracting? Tesla said, everything is about vibration. You have to be able to realize that maybe it's like look internally and say, maybe it's me that is attracting what I'm attracting. And is it the trauma? Like, am I seeking trauma bonds? Am I seeking that person that kind of shares the same pain as me, which in turn ends up making it harder in the relationship because we both are coming from wounded and damaged places. So it's like looking at it in a broader spectrum and not just saying like, well, all men are trash, No, everybody goes through their own struggles. So that's where you have to look at the individual and also do your own self-reflection and say, is it me? Um, and then to your second point, like basically I think that, I mean, it's kind of hard when it's to get out of that cycle of wanting to bash the other sex because of what they did to hurt you. And, it's about growth. If you can't grow, you have to be able to, as individuals, you have to all, as individuals, be able to grow in order to look past that hurt that person, dealt us and say, all right, I'm going to grow as a person. I'm going to spend time and work on myself. And I think once we all get to the point of working on ourselves, we can actually heal from the trauma, heal from the damages, and not just put all the blame on other people, namely the opposite sex.
Question is,
other women.
yes, we do. My question is two-part. The first part is speaking about trauma and trauma bonding. How vulnerable do you think the Black American community needs to be when we're entering relationships? And the second part of that is how much of our friend group needs to really protect us from our bad behavior.
So vulnerability is, in the African American community, Black women, we are always touted as being so strong, to be strong, strong, strong. Some of the reasons why we don't get the medical treatment that we deserve and we need is because they don't believe our pain, because we're supposed to be, these African American women especially are supposed to be so strong. So vulnerability, and Black men, you you three are Black men, so you guys know about vulnerability as cisgendered Black men, no vulnerability, point blank, period.
Yeah.
So, I hope that as we evolve as not only a people, but as a culture and society, that kind of like toxic mentality gets shifted and that we can start bringing some more vulnerability to the table. We can start being more vulnerable with because if you don't have that vulnerability, if you don't put those walls down, you're literally butting heads constantly. You're constantly butting heads because you're not trying to understand the other person in a more deeper way. The second part about friends, your tribe, your vibe attracts your tribe. As corny as that sounds, you got to be able to make sure that you have friends that are great mirrors to see your bullshit and to call you on your bullshit, especially when it comes to relationships. Like my best friend and I, we've been through our share of toxic relationships, and we both know each other so well that we're like, girl, you doing something toxic. He toxic, girl. He just, I mean, your behavior of allowing him to be toxic is like terrible, and is a terrible thing in itself. But being able to have that honest and open feedback with your friend circle, you can't have people who always are behind you, rooting you on, even with your bad decisions. You can't have that because then it'll lead you down to the path of destruction, and it is not a good path at all to be on.
We all people. But we all do we keep the same loving energy when they just tired and don't want to be bothered? Absolutely. Absolutely. I do, but I'm always willing and open for, you know me. If I say something crazy, I expect and I don't hold people accountable for saying something crazy back because it's just like, all right, cool. And that's toxic level of trying to push people to like a higher level. It's like, what's up? Let's go. Yeah, you right. Because
I wanted to make a comment too. I think people got to realize that this gender, the gender truce and a part of the war, the biggest part of the war is the fact that this is a marketplace and that these things drive like markets. So like there are people that capitalize on the fact that there are discrepancies or there's disagreement among men and women, and there's money to be made on pushing the narrative of the fuck boy, the toxic woman. Like these tropes go back hundreds of years, and people been profiting on them for hundreds and hundreds of years. The Jezebel, the Mammy, the Coon, you know what I mean? And that's been big money from day one. Like there have been whole platforms and whole markets that have capitalized on just the most toxic aspects of our relationships towards one another. And people have to understand that when you perpetuate those things, you not only destroy your relationships, but you also play into a larger narrative that people capitalize on. And some people willingly do these things just for the clout or to capitalize on, our karma.
Stop talking about all sex. You're gonna get mad at you. I jest, but before we let y'all go, before y'all go, I want to ask the queen in the conversation one question. All right. What requests would you say you personally have of black men, and what requests would you say black women have of black men when we come to the gender truce?
Honestly, for both parties, honesty. It took 31 years for me to understand that honesty is the key to a lot of things. Like it will save you. It's a saving grace. If you, as black men, you say in the beginning, like if you, it will save a lot of time for a lot of people if everyone was just honest with each other. Like honestly, like be honest in the beginning of the relationship. Like, what do you want? What is your end goal? What do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, do you want kids? Do you want this? Do you want that? You got to be honest with each other, because if you're not honest and you start a relationship, that's how situationships happen. Then that's when you go, oh, he's a fuck boy, and oh, he this, and oh, she this, and she that, and she's so clingy. But that's because y'all weren't honest with each other. Like she wants a relationship, you don't, or vice versa, and that's how. That's how. So just be honest.
I love that. Thank you. I'm gonna step off for honesty.
We appreciate y'all, beautiful people. If you got any other friends, tell them to call in. We try to have a conversation. Because again, if it wasn't COVID, I would love to do this in larger room.
Yes, we would love to be there too with the libations.
We are going to do this in a larger room eventually, especially when COVID is not a thing. Were you at my birthday?
Yeah.
Happy kind of celebrated. Yeah. Again, I want to do and create those type of environments over and just again continue to have conversations so that people can chime in, and then we can have other conversations that I think necessarily aren't or shouldn't be privy to online. As again, we're trying to build a community, and unfortunately, we live in a society that is oppressive. So, in building in terms of being frontward and front facing, I don't have good faith that we could do that without people trying to. But again, we appreciate that conversation. We appreciate that insight because that is wonderful in the sense that I think it's very simple and I think it's very impactful. And I think it is one of those things that creates a lot of issues in terms of people being dishonest just up front. And that goes from not only, romantic relationships, but platonic relationships and relationships that go across the board in terms of people just not being honest in what it is that they want, what it is that they want out of it, and how they want to, this is a dirty word in the Black community, use the relationship. We use relationships. It's okay. I don't get offended when people use me, but people like utilize me. Use me, and this is another thing that I wish that the Black community would get out of. And I hate semantics. Yes, semantics. Because again, when we talk about relationships and the sustainability of relationships, a lot of discord happens over just semantics.
But you know me as an English person, I hope we're not holding y'all up because we love you being here. but with semantics, when a person is doing that, I know that person wants to escape accountability. When we got it, they dipped out on us. Oh, we thank you all for coming. We loved it. I hope you do whatever you're doing. I hope you do it safely. But going on the conversation of semantics, right? People, we have to get to a point where and I love what the warrior poetess talked about when it comes down to honesty, because I want to get to the point where I posted today with Fyodor Dostoevsky talks about in the Brother Karamazov, get honest with yourself, self-deception. And going back to Shriveism, a lot of us self-deceive based upon that Shriveism. It's like, I deserve to be in a certain place and I deserve to be with a certain person because where my ambitions are, not where I am. And the problem comes in, you disqualify a person who's emotionally sound, who is emotionally capable of enduring and being a good partner in, we both know how high stress flights are, who is able to endure the high stress flight that gets us to the next accomplishment. And a lot of people don't pay attention to the time between accomplishment and accomplishment. They think that accomplishment comes after, like, you going from first grade to second grade. It's like, no. Once you get into the real world, you may no longer accomplish anything in your life. And accomplishments take great effort. They take great dedication of time. They take great understanding. So I'm going to talk about me personally. I know that I want to be in a romantic relationship with a woman who wants to accomplish greatly in her life. Why? Because I can never make her happy. As we talked about this before, but I also apply it to everyone. I cannot make her as happy as she makes herself. What attracted me to her was her happiness. So if I'm coming into her life and I'm attracting her happiness, or I'm taking away from her happiness, meaning not necessarily this euphoric feeling, but more so the efforts that she puts in to make herself happy, the efforts she put in to make her to accomplish. If I'm diminishing that, even if she doesn't recognize that I'm diminishing that, I have to recognize I'm diminishing that. and remove myself from it and tell her it's like, it's not you. It may not even be me, but the way time is set up, I don't have time to help you recover from the things you must go through. I don't have time to recover from the things I go through. Because, and this is, I don't agree with me or disagree with me, but I feel like most fights happen when both parties are tired, either physically or emotionally, or when one party is tired. When one party is tired, physically or emotionally, that's when the fight comes. It's like, I'm tired. If you not recognize that I'm tired. And because you won't recognize I'm tired, because you won't recognize my dreams, I feel like you're not valuing me. And that's when I see most fights happen. That's also see when I see most people get defensive when you tell them like you want great things, but you're not willing to put a great effort into the things you want. And people really get pissed off at you when you say that. It's like, no, you gotta wake your ass up. Life don't care about you sleeping until 10 a.m. on a Saturday. I wish I could have slept 10 a.m. today, but I had to work. Get up, wake up, get up. And as a Black American man, I have had to tell a lot of Black American women that get up. You cannot sleep in. Get up. Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
My goal again is for us to get into a place where we can have these conversations amongst ourselves. White America don't need to know about this shit. I got you.
No, you go. Go ahead.
White America don't need to know about this. And to my white friends, and you know I'm not talking about white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. I'm talking about all of you who are passing. Wink, wink, hint, hint, stump, stump. Some of y'all ain't as white as you think you are, and you're not as white as you passing. We've had those conversations. It's not for them. It's for us. It's for us to finally, and this is what I feel is true. It is for us as Black Americans to finally build a place where we can be safe. And that should be our homes. And that hurts my heart when and I mean that, you know, I wear my heart on my sleeve proudly. It hurts my heart when Black Americans feel like we can't be vulnerable with one another. Who the TF knows my life better than a Black American woman? And here's where, and I'm gonna get off my soapbox with this one. I've seen a lot of Black American men love when Black American women get frazzled because it gives them power. She's coming after me. She's looking after me. She wants me. She's coveting me. I've seen a lot of Black American men not be comfortable. And this is when I have seen most people be comfortable. They're not comfortable with the woman that's willing to sit on the couch with sweatpants. Her nails ain't done. Her hair ain't done. No makeup on, sitting on the couch. In my mind, it's like, oh, your nails ain't done? Your hair ain't done? Your makeup ain't done? Shit, this is the sexiest opportunity ever because you're not worried about your looks anymore. And so because you're not worried about your looks, this is the best time for me to show you it's never about your looks. It never was about your looks. It's about how you carry yourself. And if men are honest, the most attractive women, women like, oh, I don't care if you got nappy edges. If you're in a grocery store, sweatpants and sweatshirt, flip-flops on, not giving a damn about who's around, and you just being honest in you, that is more appealing than a full beat face. That's just me. It's way more appealing. It's like, if I hit the cheeks, then she don't worry about her hair or her nails, because can't nothing get damaged. But that's my state of mind. There are dudes out there, her nails ain't done, her hair ain't done, it ain't no makeup. It's like, I say males, not men, because that's immature behavior. And I'm going to call that out. If you sitting there and you telling a woman her hair needs to be done, her nails need to be done, her face need to be beat, like, bro, before she even show up to the date, she done spent $250. You need to be spending money on her.
I personally don't necessarily like, because you were saying I can do without it. It's not necessarily, what's the word? My forte. But again, I understand people need their own regimens outside of what I like. But, you know, it is what it is. I'm trying to put this into the thing.
Yeah, Zimmer.
People can call in
Zimba G, I would love to hear your voice because you have been a supporter. You have been rocking with us. Please call in because we need multiple perspectives. I'm not going to speak for the Black Anglo-Saxon, but
No, I do.
Inquisitive
I
Q.
hear my voice all the time.
When I say I'm inquisitive,
I'm at least unchallenged. It's
you like being challenged. I don't like being challenged all the time. Sometimes I'm like,
I believe
I'm like Snorlax. You know how Snorlax
challenge. No, challenge me.
He's a Pokemon, but he doesn't act like a Pokemon. I have to work. I don't need to be challenged all the
I
time.
want to be challenged.
My brain challenges me all the time because my brain is sitting here. No perfect example, bro. Again, you know my life. You know where I've been. You know where you're going. We talked about this before we started filming. I'm not going to introduce an energy, a presence to our social support network that diminishes us.
This is fact.
More importantly, I'm not going to be a part of because I am a cis heterosexual male. Now, I don't like labels because a lot of people hide behind labels, but just for transparency, I am a cis heterosexual male. Some people are non-binary, and I'm a person like, son, humans are complex as fuck.
The labels make it
The
more complex.
no,
for me.
you know what the labels do? It allows people to hide.
I agree.
It
That's why I
allows-
don't like identity politics.
It allows a lot of people to
Because people
hide.
hide behind certain stuff, and they should be able to
They
hide.
hide.
Because whether you be a woman, a man, a bisexual, or all those things, people can be
hide.
trashed across the whole spectrum. And a lot of people use identity politics to not be held accountable for
They're
them
predatory.
being immature.
And predatory.
Very
And
much
predatory.
so.
And I'll say this. Would you agree that past a certain age, your immaturity is no longer immaturity, you're a predator? Because after a while, you didn't practice it enough that you know what you're doing.
Never thought about it.
I didn't think about it till just now, but
Go ahead.
after a certain point, you're no longer immature. You're a predator.
So let's walk through that line of logic out loud.
I don't
So,
know that out of
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you start off.
So basically, what you're saying to me is, okay, I'm immature at the age of 15, 16,
I'm
17.
You don't know where the hell you going.
We can go all the way up to like 22,
Yeah, go on.
23. Oh, you're my man. Or
Uh-oh.
yes, sir. We gonna ask you to
I'm you.
unmute you. Boom. If we need to see you because you're beautiful. Yeah. Hey,
Ooh.
this my man. Hey, I love this guy. Hey,
Can you hear me?
hold on. Are you unmuted? Turn yourself up, man.
Alrighty.
Yep, we did. So, conversation tonight, the Gender Truth fam, much love. This my man CA, everybody.
He so mad at us.
Everybody who don't know this man, he do a lot of great work for the community, government. Hey, we been here. He been sticking with it. But moving on, much love. What you want to contribute to the conversation? Bigger question is, what are you doing to help the gender conversation, and what it is you would ask for black women, as well as black men to do to bring us to a truce so that we can move forward?
Well, first and foremost, Devon, I want to say shout out to y'all, Devon, Quentin, Daquan. Like you guys, what you guys put together with Gilded Sages is much needed, and you got to do things with integrity, with due diligence, and consistently. So much respect first and foremost. And I want to say also, I was in and out of the convo. I was pride, and I was trying to follow, but I've been catching up, and I came in I think at like the 24 mark as well, the 24-minute mark as well. And I also want to mention I am a Ethiopian American, right? So this is, I think, absolutely, bro, absolutely. But I think y'all this is primarily a discussion about the African American community, to be specific, ADOS or African American, right? I myself, being a native of DC, I'm on the outside looking in still, grew up amongst African Americans. I'm still like, I still see it, but of course y'all live it, right? So finally, to get to the point, I know the gender truths, it's imperative that, disrespect of either gender shouldn't be broadcasted, as you guys been saying this whole episode, right? You know, I think when I thought about solutions, I think you guys already hit the nails on the head, and as well as Daquan and the young lady that was with him. You know, it's respect, accountability, honesty. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but it just needs to be reiterated and kind of, you know, mentioned more. It's just as simply as just not broadcasting the issues. I think I don't know about other groups, I guess, because I don't tune into them as much. For example, like Asian, Hispanic, Ethiopian, or whoever. But it seems like it is known amongst Black men and women, you know, the dysfunction.
So can I ask you this, as a being an Ethiopian American, we having an honest discussion. You know, we've had discussions amongst ourselves prior to, in terms of the difference amongst us. Would you say that there are some solutions that you could pull from, per se, your community, in terms of how it is that you all navigate, in terms of, because again, a lot of African Americans, I can say, look up to continental Africans and their culture.
Not even look up, aspire.
So with that being said, in terms of
As a
person-
bro.
I know
Ethiopia was never conquered or colonized.
that's great. And so because you are well vested in the culture, in terms of, you know, understanding the difference in between the two, is there anything that you see within the culture that you are participating in as Ethiopians that we can, as African Americans, do to protect ourselves under Americans' reign of oppression?
Like, thanks to you, Devon, you put me onto the ADOS movement, right? And for those who know, American Descendants of Slavery, right? There's a unique story that African Americans have, and you know, it affects them to this day. And it's like, whatever some other group is doing, it doesn't. I think it doesn't. It can't be the solution to the African American story. And thanks to the ADOS movement, I'm learning, like, I learned about the you know, the quarrels that happen between different groups, African Americans and Ethiopians, Africans in other, you know, countries, and I'm learning more about the African American perspective. It's like, I understand that, you know, like you just said, Quinn, like, we never got colonized, but see, it's like, it's just different situations in different countries, different lifestyles. You know, it's just like,
Let's see, you're editing yourself. Go there. We want you to go there.
You're in a safe space, fine.
Go there. You know
So
what happens.
it's like, no matter what I might say about, oh, this group did this, it's like, but you didn't live our life. You can try to say, okay, we did this, guys. We have our women cook and clean every day. Hypothetically, not that happens, but hypothetically, right? That does not happen in my household nor anybody's household that I know, right?
You might get it. No.
Just point it out, right? It's like, at the end of the day, but the point I was trying to make was, whatever Ethiopians might do, it's not like something that you know.
Wait a minute, I got to follow up for that though. Because I love your honest perspective. Because Nigerians, although the continent don't necessarily rock with Nigerians because they're assholes, Nigerians want everyone to emulate them. I'm just speaking about the continent at that point in time. But in pertaining to this conversation, though, because as a person who is on the outside, I'm steeped in it. I can't get out even if I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
What is your perspective on a debate that Black American men and women have that informs everybody? Because I'm a person, I have seen affluent white people, and I'm just going like, this is the same shit that goes on in my household, but y'all got a little bit more money to hide. So what do you see that Black American men and women in our quote unquote dysfunction brings value to everybody else that they don't want to talk about?
Bro, like, I can just go on Twitter and you can just see the gender war, right? Though I think, like you said, like an affluent white person can cover it up with their money or however they cover it up. It's just like, it's broadcasted. And like Daquan said earlier, there's money to be made off of this. Like we know it's obvious dysfunction and people can make money off it, so it's going to be pushed more, right? So I think that it's just out there. I guess because it's a way to fuck up the black community for real. Like that narrative.
It's a commodity.
Yeah, it's a commodity. Exactly, it's a commodity versus any other group. I think other immigrants and other groups, not other immigrants, but immigrants in America, they just keep to themselves. Whatever the heck they do is not broadcasted because it's like this whole keeping your tradition thing. And Americans themselves, I think it's just like they just live in life. It's not about, oh, you gotta keep this tradition going. It's just like we live. Their lives are not like, I guess, for their lives, it's not no shame to be broadcasted. I think, but for any other immigrant group, they're not trying to put anything bad about their culture on blast. Even say it again.
And so what you if I'm understanding you right, is that for most other POC groups, the dysfunction of African Americans just appeals as another commodity the same way a white person will commodify it.
Yeah, I think it's easily commodified. Something like Love and Hip Hop, right?
Yeah.
It's just like that's a TV show. I don't know if that's across the board for other groups. Like, I don't know if it's a Love and Hip Hop on Telemundo or
That's very accurate.
you know what I mean? Like it's just like it's up there in American culture. I can just turn on VH1 and be like, oh, Love and Hip Hop. You know what I mean?
I get you. And I get you. Because what I love about this, I love the outside perspective of talking about America. Because America, we can be talking about African American groups because we really want to advance our group. But I can also turn on the house of fires of any neighborhood and we can see the dysfunction of quote unquote affluent families. And that speaks to Americans about how Americans like to commodify pain.
Mhm.
Americans love to commodify pain. But I'm hearing from you is like, okay, would you say that, because I think a lot about Kyle Penn when you talk about tradition, would you say that tradition kind of curtails how people act in the public space and how people see themselves in the public space? And I'm not joking, because what's so important about that, and what was so important about the warrior politics going in and Seaman G going in,
It's a for me, it's a conversation.
no conversation, but I know from experience that you have to bring up a valuable conversation because everybody walks away with something different. Everyone has different takeaways. And again, we really need to, I want to have symposiums. I want to do this in person so people don't feel pressured because of the cameras here or because they're being recorded. What I got from that conversation, what I got from the warrior to politics as well, is that there is value in Black Americans being on Front Street. And I will have to say this about Black Americans. We are so put in the news so often that in our minds, when we see an opportunity, we run to it. The problem is we need to get to the point where we're seeing opportunity and we are going to the point, we're going to the point in which we are pushing ourselves. Here we go.
My apologies, fellas. My apologies.
I'm gonna,
My phone died
You good.
Hey.
on the laptop now.
the tech is tech, man. Tech. Hey, we can't. Humans over tech.
Not everything. As you were saying, I'm listening.
My fault, Quentin. And I think where we left off, I think the point that you were just making is how it's, dysfunction in the Black community is a commodity. And from somebody that's of an Ethiopian American in America, it's easy to see that on Twitter, on Love and Hip Hop, on a rap video. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's why it's so easy for me to kind of see it from the outside looking in. I can't say that for Hispanic groups, white groups, Ethiopian groups, even as much. It's like, you know what I mean? And let me also mention, being a person around a lot of African Americans, I look to y'all to understand America, right? because it's like I'm still of that group, but I'm still Americanized. Like even now, so I always go back to the ADOS group. Like we emulate African American culture to the core, like myself included, from the way I try to talk, the way I try to dress, this and that, like you name it. More than I try to emulate white culture. That's American culture to us is African American culture. Like
I love it so much.
Because it's here.
right, and it's around us. Like it's an entertainment. It's
Are we more accepting of us?
People
like
we're more accepting, and I'm gonna let you jump in. We're more accepting, and we don't understand it, but we have created a standard. African American vernacular. We unfortunately, because America pushes out, and again, this is where I'll say I appreciate you, CA, because I can say to people who may be viewing that nah, this man is dead serious when he says that he listens. We've had this number of conversations
he puts in.
of, him just reaching out and just being able to say,
Thank you for the support. I am not joking. That support is 10,000 appreciated.
and it's
and
gonna
the
continue.
genuine, because he asks for the perspective. Like we met at work. It's just like I want to better understand whether it be the election, whether it be all of these different things that are going on, how you all have managed to navigate them, but also why do you all navigate them in this way? And I think that's the honest conversation that we've been able to have. And that, like, look, everything that we do, some of the things that people see that we do, it's toxic. Like we've had the genuine conversation. Like I know I do toxic stuff, but have gotten to this point because this is where I come from, this is what it is, and this is what my people have been through, and so on and so forth. And being able to, again, if you're a POC and a white person, I think that's a good model and a mold in terms of what it takes to be an ally. Like not necessarily just being able to hop in front of what African Americans are doing, but really sitting and listening and like, I'm going to follow lead on what it is. Because these people understand not only what's going on now, but what has brought us to now.
I got you.
And so that's where, it's hard to get a relationship like consistent with me. But I can say that like respectfully and genuinely is like, nah, how is this working? I don't necessarily understand it. I understand this. I know this, but help me kind of understand the larger macro talking points of what's going on here, because I also have felt the brunt of American blackness, even though I'm not American black, which is a lot of the things that people go through is like, what is this thing that I'm feeling, but I don't quite understand it.
I heard that.
And that's where he's honest.
Get that.
And that I mean like, oh,
I get that.
gotcha.
I get that.
But what I would say to that is, in terms of, again, I love and appreciate that you respect it. But what I would say is that what you've been able to offer me on the other side of that,
Of you as a
is-
senior, right?
is exactly as in CA, as in being
CA,
from a
gotcha.
different culture, is being able to take tidbits, things that aren't dysfunctional, things that come from stability.
So uplifting is
Yeah, things that come from stability. As you know, most people call me elitist. Again, we look to those things. And I understand what he's saying in terms of I hope that people take from what he said was that, like, look, we have to begin to have these conversations amongst ourselves and model and create a new model that it doesn't exist yet because we are different people. They come from a different experience. They come from a different set of atrocities.
I got you. Now that's where I wanted him to jump in on is like, what is your honest and true perspective? And I'm not putting you on jump street. Please don't jeopardize yourself in any kind of way. What I'm hearing from you and what I see from you is that you are a true ally. CA, am I saying that right?
Correct.
Call me, sir. But what I'm hearing from you and I have seen amongst white Americans as well as other immigrant groups being a true ally. And now what I'm interested in hearing from you is like, what is it? Because it's not only just, I would say, other parts of the sub-Saharan Africa, not just West Coast African nations or East Coast African nations. We also have British blacks who look to African Americans as this is what it means to be black in America.
Mhm.
So my thing is, as being a black person, I take it as a frivolous thing. It's like, bro, we come from slaves, and I've been to Zambia. I've had cabbage and chicken and eaten it like it came out of grandma's pot. So when you literally go from, I'm from Congress Heights, DC to Zambia, Africa, and your taste buds are telling you this is home.
Mhm.
And I don't think most African Americans or Black Americans have had this experience. Immigrant groups know what I'm talking about. When your taste buds, when your body say this is familiar, although it comes from an unfamiliar source, it's a totally different experience. That concreted for me that the moment we got off them ships, we was like, fuck that shit. I'm doing what I'm doing anyway. That's where the thug in me comes from. It's like, yeah, you called us slaves, but we never act like slaves. The whole time we was picking cotton and picking cane and everything else, we was in our heads plotting how the fuck we was getting out. That's where the thug in me comes in. It's like, yo, I come from a group of people that's like, no matter what you do to me, I'm going to make it.
This is true. But to your question to him,
Mm-hmm.
just so he can hear it without the full context,
I'm
so
sorry.
he can answer it to your point. No, go ahead. Just reiterate it.
But because as an ally, what would you ask of Black Americans? How can Black Americans not only, we can only help our own case, but what is it about, I'm taking your conversation in consideration too, what is it about Black Americans that draws people?
Well,
Because we on this one.
I think when people come to America, they buy into that commercial of the American dream. It's just like that's the first thing. I think they're not even aware of African American culture. So I want to start there. Everybody knows America's the land of opportunity. But I think now I'm born and raised here. When a person comes here, they're usually unaware of the African American experience. They're unaware of the history, and they pick up that. I think a lot of them came in, I guess, the 80s. Well, a lot of African immigrants came in the 80s. I'm not sure about other groups. So the people that immigrate here, I think they're insensitive and not really in the business of helping African Americans when they get here. They're just focused on their own agenda, right? But their offsprings, us, when we're around African Americans, we're obviously the same skin color, but there's a distinct difference in us, though, right? So I think African Americans have persevered, right? From slavery to Jim Crow to redlining, everything that they had to encounter. They're survivors, like you just said, Quentin. Like they're survivors, and they've been through so much. And from the many inventions through the times of slavery and Jim Crow to just purely surviving and the different places that they succeeded in, whether it's entertainment, sports, judges, politics, you name it. So basically, it's people that been through such a difficult time, and to persevere. I think that's what makes that's what I think other people attracted to the African American community.
Well, so that perseverance,
I think so. Yeah.
But we also cocky about it. We don't necessarily just persevere. We go like, yeah, nigga, I did it anyway. But that's how Black Americans are. It's like, yeah, you told me no, but I did it anyway.
that's
What? Is that not how we act?
the air, yeah, that comes with, I guess, overcoming, but that level of toxicity too, that comes with overcoming in an oppressive environment.
And I think that's on a deeper level. That's when people really figure out. But I think just being a person, a Black person the immigrant that has roots in Africa, you just see black people on TV or black people around you. It's just, you're gonna just gravitate towards them. You know what I mean?
Oh, that makes sense. So it's like so you can kind of see. So what I'm hearing is that okay, I'm not necessarily a Black American, but I am not treated as a white American. Is that what I'm hearing? It's like I don't
Absolutely.
get the white access, but I don't have the Black plight. So it sounds like a third culture kid to a certain degree. It's like I have a third culture. I'm not necessarily of my birth. Well, I would say I'm not necessarily of my heritage nation. And I believe say that in America is like I have a heritage nation because we have a lot of Chinese people here. We have a Chinese name and an American name. And I'm just thinking about the diasporas, not the immigrants, the diaspora narratives in America. But what I'm hearing is like, I'm not necessarily of the Black American plight, but I don't have the white access.
Yeah, but you know what? Now that I think about it, I think it's just wherever you're placed. Like I'm in DC. DC was Chocolate City, and
Yeah.
it's just black people around me, right? But I think an Ethiopian American who's in freaking Potomac, yeah, he's not gonna uh, be considered white or have that all the social capital and all the benefits. But there's still more. They relate to probably white people more if they're in that group. But no matter what, though, they still can't. They're not gonna have white privilege. Kind of.
Yeah, that's your glass ceiling.
And
Right.
and I think that's where us as Black Americans can really form that coalition. And then we can have those honest conversations. And like POC, you have those honest conversations about the diasporas in America. It's like we talk about white legacy, but we need to talk about the legacy of different peoples, like white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. And I'm saying white Anglo-Saxon Protestants for a reason, have created an economic system in which they benefit. And then we, as of everybody, as non-white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, don't come together and go like, look, y'all done rigged the rules to the point where you exploiting everybody labor. You exploiting Native American labor, you exploiting Ethiopian labor, you exploiting ADOS labor, you exploiting Chinese labor. You've been exploiting labor since exploiting labor was exploiting labor. And I believe that's what will make a much stronger political argument for getting rid of things like legacy and admissions inside of Ivy League schools. Why are we worried about affirmative action when we don't talk about people getting in based upon where their parents went?
Because you have the other side of that with POCs are attacking affirmative action.
Oh, yeah, well, that's most South Asians, though. South Asians really do attack the affirmative action thing. I do got one more question for Sid before he goes. Because I don't want to put you on Front Street, but I am curious.
It's cool, bro.
Where's the gender battle that you see? I need to rephrase it. Where's the gender battle non-ADOS or non-American? Where does the gender battle exist with all Black people?
Just generally.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Quinn, because I actually had, I think, a question or two myself.
Okay.
I took notes because I wanted to make sure I was prepared. You know what? In all honesty, specifically, once again, being of Ethiopian descent, right? Ethiopian men, going back to the country, not in the States, they have extreme privilege. So the country's like majority, I think, I don't know if it's 50-50 Muslim Christian. There's some churches where women aren't allowed in part of the churches. And I'm trying to word this as nicely as possible about Islam, but I think that with Islam, there's obviously, for men and women, there's a lot of differences with how they, do things, right? So with that being said, it's just like men have a lot of privileges in Ethiopia, I think, and they benefit a lot from women not having as much, I wouldn't say rights, but trying to find the right way to put it.
Access, leeway.
Yeah, like, I think the most simple way to put it is that they're usually the ones cooking and cleaning and not having opportunities to succeed in that,
Got you.
in that way of life. So
Got you.
So that trickles down to being in the States, right? So that kind of way of living is kind of expressed at homes of my parents' generation. So it's still that kind of vibe still lingers when it trickles down to our generation. Mainly, women being traditional, guys having just, benefits that women usually don't have.
Got you. I love that. I'm open to your questions. I don't know about if he had any follow up.
I'm ready for the questions.
So like me and Devon had like numerous conversations, right? And I think in February or January, Devon, before all this stuff hit, we had like a combo. I think it was related to gender relations as well. And I think one thing that
was marriage.
Why up?
yes, indeed, it was marriage. And I think one thing that stood out to me was when Devon said, I think it's going to be a lot more women taking care of guys, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
What's y'all take on that? Where it's like, does it look like where it's going to be women going to be like the breadwinners? Like how do y'all see that?
My take on that is that I'll reiterate in the sense that what happens is when you push for economic access, equal access, and when they push for that further and further and further, the dynamics of the economy changes in terms of the labor force. And so as women push for that, I think that they also have to be realistic in that when you do that, you have to take on the burden of what it means to be the breadwinner. Because when you talk about historical traditions and how we come into this place of what we quote unquote call the purse strings, we have to understand that women only have received their rights as late of African Americans. Women have received their rights in America with the likes of African Americans. When we talk about traditions like marriage and when we talk about the economics of things, most of that, when we talk about especially European nations as well as African nations, that is dominated by the male. When we have women in the 21st century who are seeking equal access and are getting that equal access, kudos. I have no issue with that. None. Zero. What I am saying is that you have to accept the consequences on the other side of that. You have to accept that if I am going to be the one making 150, 120K, you can't necessarily use hypergamy on the back end of that, because when you talk about the average male, the average Black American male is making 30, under 30K. Nothing. When you talk about the average male in general, you're talking about the top 10% of men in terms of making that amount of money. So if you are making that, you unfortunately, even though you may not necessarily want to, will have to come to the understanding that, look, I am the dominant. I was having a conversation with one of my friends. He's like, she is that go-getter. You might have to understand that you need a beta male or a male that is going to fit into your vision.
I'm like the word beta and alpha, but
Again, that's why I say in terms of you gotta find a man who's willing to succeed and fall into your vision, because you are the lead in that way. And that's just what it is. And I'd use those terms just to basically for anybody who's watching so that you can understand that you're gonna have to find somebody who falls in line. I'm not against that. Women who are making an amount of money, you can't be against that.
they can, but not realistically.
Yeah, you can be,
But not realistically.
but if you are, you might end up alone for forever. Because again, I don't see the economy changing anytime soon in terms of their access.
But that's because domestic work has been undervalued.
I agree.
I'm gonna jump in here before you follow up with your next question. I'm a child of divorce, right? My parents were married. I have boomer parents. I am boomer hooked. So what that means as a Black American is I come from a high achieving mother. My mother got her associates in the 80s in computer science before women were in computer science. So she had that higher income. But what I have learned is that high income means high stress. And what's not valued about a lot of women's domestic work is how much they create a space for men to recover. If you don't respect how much that woman is putting work and effort, unpaid work and unpaid effort into how much it takes for you to recover from your high stress, your high income job, then those women on the other side don't understand what it takes for a man to create an environment where she can decompress, she can recover. So instead of being inside of a corporate environment, because you're most likely corporate if you're making that income, in a corporate environment for 1 or 2 years, she's in a corporate environment in which she can make it 5, 10, 15 years, 20 years to get to that corner office. Because when you say fall in line, and this is why I don't like the beta male thing is that what a lot of people don't understand is that partner is the silent coach. We all know, and especially those who work, when you go into the work environment, you dealing with a bunch of people who are basically athletes that want to get to the position you want to get to. So you kind of compete. You need collaboration and cooperation. But when you come home, you kind of drained from work. If you don't respect that person or that partner that's putting in the work to make you comfortable enough to go back into work, then you are doomed to be alone. And I'll say, here's the difference. Women are more tolerant of people being immature than other people being immature. For a fact, women will tolerate, hey, this is how you know a woman's tolerating an immature man. She does just like this.
But this is where
And wait for it.
but this is where the women gotta let us step in, because I agree with you 100%. Our tolerance be low. This is where the woman gotta understand, like, nah, you know what? I'm gonna let a motherfucking man come in here who ain't got the high level tolerance, but also got the physical strength. Because as you know, the stakes are changing.
Oh my God.
It's like, is that? Go ahead, let me get up in there. Because again, when they come, I don't got time for the immaturity either, because we out here on missions. Guess what? I dare you to challenge me, because please, let's go. I'm not the woman. If you beat me, you just beat. But we gonna keep going.
I got you.
Because again, women, if you want to be protected, let the crazy
Let the goons in. Let the
just
goons
slide
in.
in and be like,
Oh, so what you basically saying is like, women, let the men who know how to be angry and when to be angry.
all day, every day.
I'll because you on that because it's like I get to fuck somebody up. Just a
again-
Oh, we gonna fuck some shit up today.
Because again, don't understand is like, no, the anger, the rage, that's part of the emotional spectrum. Most young boys are that. That's why we have the untamed violence. You need men who understand how to manage it, reconcile with it, and also utilize it, maximize it.
I got you. And I'm gonna say this before because I want your second question jump in. What a lot of women envision happens between father and son relationships, I think it's fights. What they don't see in father and son relationships is when the father gets patient with the young man. Is like, I know you being stupid. I know you being arrogant. Life is going to fuck you up in a way I can't. So I, as a father, I am here to heal your boo-boos more than it's true. I am here to more heal what life has done to you than to actually punish you. If we real, most nurturing men, we'll go like, no, life is gonna fuck you up more than I can, and I don't want to hurt you. So you had another question, right?
Right. And I don't want to go over time for y'all. Like,
You good. You
I
good.
kind of got a follow-up question and another question besides that. So, and I appreciate y'all's feedback. It was definitely dope.
Great. You good. Do you? I'm
Now,
trying.
I don't know if you might remember, Devon. You shared a Harvard Business Review article about, I think, the difficulty that women face of getting men to listen to them, if I'm not mistaken. Does that ring a bell?
Not necessarily, but go ahead and I'm gonna listen to your line of
And I was trying to find the article just now, like, and I remember commenting on it too on Facebook. But I think it's basically what the article was saying is that it's hard for women to get men to do what they want them to do.
Mhm.
I'm trying my best to find the article, but I think that kind of plays into the combo of what we were just talking about, where when a woman makes more money, how she kind of has to kind of assume the role of the person in charge, you know?
Yeah. Because what happens is again, the energies are flipped in that way because you have to understand that you are now the person who are having to be the assertive, dominant person. You are having to be the person who has to manage. You will have to now become the person who is accepting, as Quinn was talking about, accepting the disrespect. Because a lot of what women don't see on the other side of manhood is that a lot of the times you are accepting a lot of disrespect, which is in the large part where he talks about, you know, that escape and being able to recover. I'm able to come back to you. You nurture me into this space because you are the person who not only allows me to be human, you are the person who doesn't require me to meet this standard that really a lot of professionals, I would say, are trying to meet a very unreal standard in terms of who it is that
The management.
not even a management, but who it is that they can be
I got
with the time given that they can be. And so, yeah, it's very hard. The same way on the other side of that, the men who are leading, it's very hard to get women to fall in line. I can say for like even myself, it's like I don't mind doing all of those things, but getting a person to, we can use women, we can use kids. Again, kids don't really care about who you are outside of them being your parent. It's just like your mom and your dad. They don't care if you're the CEO of the largest company and you got to deal with assholes all day. The same way your wife or your husband does it. That's their relationship to you. So it goes across the whole spectrum. And so what happens is you, whoever is that person who's going out every day fighting society, has to understand that it comes with the territory. If you want to be that breadwinner, if you want to be that person, that entrepreneur, that person that's just going like, I'm going to defy the odds of society, you have to accept man, woman, transgender, bisexual, whatever, cis, non-binary, whatever. You have to accept that you're going to be hit with tirades, not only from outside of your home, but inside of your home, that you aren't going to feel like it's fair. Point blank, period. Because it is not fair, but it comes with the territory. It's not easy, but it comes with the territory. And on the other side of that, I would say it is rewarding. I feel good that I could pay for certain stuff and take care of my son and take care of my girl and be able to add value to other people and coach other people. I feel good about those things, even though sometimes it's like, man, y'all nerds.
You know what's scary about that? Because I'm strictly egalitarian. I'm strictly egalitarian. Like I was saying earlier, I can never make a woman happier than she can make herself. What I mean by being egalitarian in this sense, and when you talk about fall in line, it's that terminology. I'm not falling in line for shit. You need me. Because if I don't put
That's
some
ego.
work, there's not ego. No, you need No, hold on. Let me speak on it. No, you need me. Here's why. I will leave your ass and see how long you stay in that work environment.
But a person asking you to fall in line, that's for me, it's not semantic.
Listen, no, it is. Because listen to how you program in your brain. You create a hierarchy.
It is a hierarchy.
It isn't a hierarchy.
In family, there's a hierarchy.
There isn't. There are two leads. If I don't put in the work into myself to make sure that to help take care of you, you fall down in your performance at work. Why? Because the performance in myself has fallen. You are a lead of shit. And that's where people who work are arrogant. You aren't shit.
That's what people who work are very arrogant. It's like, you need to understand this. Those people at your job treat you like that. When you walk in this household, it's about everybody. I don't care if you paid for the light bill, because guess what? When your ass was sick, was it your boss taking care of you or was it me? When these kids that you love to parade, when they were sick, was the boss take care of them or me? I'm not falling in line because I have my own business as an adult. This, when you say fall in line, that's military. That's hierarchy. I'm not your child. And what I mean by this is that that's your vision. And I have decided as an individual to support, to support you in your vision, not to accept your vision, to support you in, think of agency. When you say fall in line, you remove my agency. And this is where a lot of people get shit fucked up. I still have an agency. I am still on autonomous being. So when people, this is why you have to get this in your head. I'm speaking as an English major, not you in particular. No, not verbally. No, I gotta say that for the camera because people love to like, oh, they having a fight.
No, nigga, come to me, nigga.
No, what you gotta get in your head is that you're creating a social hierarchy when you say fall in line and you think you are a leader. Motherfucker, you ain't shit. Because guess what? I know when you weak. I know how you weak. And this is when they say a woman's speak on. I know you weak. I know how you weak. I know where you weak. I know how you weak. I know where you weak. And I know where everything falls off. I have your weaknesses in my back pocket. I know every trump card about you that you don't know because I observe you in ways you don't observe yourself. So I'm not falling in line. You give the respect to your partner of uplifting you. You gotta recognize there's a lot of motherfuckers out here. There's a lot of people who have the ego in their head that literally believe that they have the power to tell another person how to be, how to live, how to dress, how to move, and they need to be checked ASAP. I'm speaking as a man, but then I'm speaking as a man to other men, like, nigga, check yourself. Because I can ruin your whole life by just getting in your girl's ear about how you disrespecting her, you neglecting her, and I can just take all of your money.
So let me ask you this.
Because you're not mentally stable. You're not emotionally stable. She's the one that's emotionally stabilizing you.
And this is why it's semantics for me in terms of,
I'm listening.
I understand the connotation that can come with that, but this is where
Connotation is how to frame it.
This is why relationship, and I can see that to some point because I'm
Mhm.
thinking your words in that way for that reason. And I think this is where good faith comes in, going back to
It's
the
trust,
overall
man.
conversation in terms of good faith and trust, is that when somebody either saying fall in line, as you know, those industries that you name can be highly abusive. They
Yeah.
are highly abusive. I think if that abuse comes in along with that, I can see your point. And I'll say that because I've used the terminology and I can hear your point in saying that maybe I shouldn't use that terminology in terms of maybe the person, maybe people
Not
aren't
the terminology.
perceive it.
It's a frame. I'll get you.
I got you. Maybe
Mhm.
maybe people are perceiving it that.
I got you.
And I'm not necessarily aware, even though I'm not necessarily using it in that way because when I use it, I'm thinking more so about
Because you got to submit it to your own goals.
as I submit it to my own goals and I submit it to the people who are helping me get to those goals.
Yes.
In terms of, you know me, I work with a motherfucker all day, every day. Like,
You know me, I'll walk the fuck away.
I'm irritating me, but
I'm
I
that
get
dude.
with you.
I'm a veteran.
That's why for me,
I'm
fall in
not-
line is like, look, you get behind me and I got you.
I do.
Because you getting behind me comes with me as the shield.
But you're talking about someone being a co-pilot or a tail gunner. You're talking about someone that's on the same ship or on the same plane.
Yeah.
We have to understand a lot of men really think of themselves as the chief to this. No problem. What I'm saying is, and I'll speak to you at this point in time, is like, I feel like a lot of men take it that they are the ones in charge. And a lot of men take it as that they are the ones who dictate the future and don't consider other people's goals, dreams, and considerations. And when I'm challenging with the fall in line rhetoric, is I'm really challenging the psychology that says, because I pay the bills, I tell other people how to live. That's what I'm challenging.
And I get that, Quinn, and also I think it relates to just how things have been historically. Um, women, you know, thriving is kind of a new thing now. I think I don't know how long ago like women started just progressing,
World War II.
but it's like I think that's very true. Where it's just like as guys, we do have an ego problem when it comes to wanting to control things. And it is funny. I know one thing I wanted to talk about when y'all
Right.
talked about having toxic hate group, having friend groups can be hate groups.
Yeah, gotcha.
And I'm gonna kind of try to bring this in where it's kind of like us guys be caring about women's body counts,
Mm-hmm. A lot of guys do.
and that I think falls in line with the hate group thing, where it's like control, ego. It's like, yo, her body count is too high, so I don't want to deal with her. You can't control any other human being.
You can't. But my thing is with the body count, and this is where I'm kind of that outlandish guy. Is like, look, I'm the guy. If she had 999 dudes and she committed to me as 1,000, she done met 999 failures when it came down to her emotional intimacy.
Okay.
Dudes got to get into their mindset that literally the skin cells of her vagina have changed. Her mind has changed. And I think it comes from a lot of guys' place of not being able to truly connect emotionally with women because they're afraid of women to a certain degree. I think a lot of they're afraid not as in, oh my gosh, she scares me. I think a lot of men are intimidated by their own ideas and ideals of women. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
It's like they'll put her on a pedestal. And so what happens is, and for me, what happens is I see a lot of guys get into emotionally damaging relationships because they want to put women on a pedestal. And they'll have women that come along and go, that's not real. That's not realistic. I'm more like you in my day-to-day needs than I am of the ideal women that you're thinking of. So what happened is that a lot of guys will dismiss that woman that's honest and go for that woman that puts herself on that pedestal. And the woman that puts her on the pedestal, and because again, I've been to a lot of girl nights. I know what it happens. She had to learn how to get on the pedestal. And that comes with the body count. We don't give women the respect that they also have to learn how to engage with men.
This is true.
We don't give them that respect, and we broke the body count into that. It's like we don't give her the respect that her body count may be that body count because she didn't know who she liked, what she liked. That body count could be there because she was going through something and she decided. And here's the thing most guys don't get because they don't get enough opportunities. Sex can become a bad habit when you have opportunities to have sex.
Yes.
So she may have been coping through other people.
It's true.
And so guys look at the body count, but they don't see why the body count is there. It's like if the body count is high because you just a naturally sexual person and you like your sexuality, you like to express it, cool. And then my question with that woman is like, are you monogamous or non-monogamous? Because you like promiscuity, you like sex. So how are you monogamous? How do you see monogamy? But when you have, and I don't think we talk about this enough, when you have someone who has been once sheltered, because we over shelter women and they don't get to explore as much as we get to explore, or you also have women who have been overexposed to sexuality and have explored life through sexuality, we don't give them the space to come back and say, well, you know what? I was being immature. I had a lot of sexual partners, one, because I didn't know who I was, what I wanted. I was just seeking attention. And as a guy, we got to get to the point of maturity of going like, okay, her body count is an indicator of one thing, but it's not an indicative of who she is as a person. Does that make any sense?
No, that makes perfect sense to me. Because it goes into a larger conversation around, like we were having earlier, in terms about not only are you accumulating bodies, but how are you accumulating those bodies? And again, because we come from toxic environments, why are you accumulating those bodies? And those are the honest, vulnerable conversations that we have to have moving forward. But what I will say in terms of this, because I have to move out to be able to get something that I paid for,
Gotcha.
will be what I want everybody to do is I want to thank you, CA, for calling over to have a discussion with us. Again, everybody who is watching, who has watched, we appreciate y'all for having the discussion. Please come out. Please like the video, share the video, comment, call in when you can, because those small little things helps us go a long way in terms of building the capacity that we want so that we can have conversations advantageous for everybody, not just us specifically. And when I say us specifically, I mean me, you, for our, like own material sales, like own material sales, but like larger group, definitely. But with that being said, I want to say thank you to everybody tonight. We're going to get around to having another discussion. This sounds like this was good. Hopefully more people will call in. We can have a part 2 and push that out maybe
This
like a
ongoing
week after.
conversation.
Yes, because I think this is much more needed for, more time in terms of, unpacking this and great the nitty gritty what it is that we need to do as a community overall and how people position us as well as our disposition in the overall conversation of it. But we want to thank you. I appreciate you. I love you.
Definitely
Thank you,
appreciate you.
Quan,
Yeah, I appreciate you.
to his guests as well.
Warrior Poetess.
Warrior Portis. And you
Later
all
on.
go ahead. No, definitely. We're gonna catch y'all next time. And we appreciate y'all for coming out and showing love and sharing love with us. And we only here to reciprocate. So y'all enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you.
See y'all later, bro.
See you.
Sure.